All right, welcome to another Friday night episode of Keto Rocks. I'm Jim Hobbs, and somewhere on your screen is my carnivore co-host, Brian, Damaged Forsythe of Kix and Rhino Bucket. And then, how's things going, Brian? How was your week? How was your trip up to Massachusetts?
Sorry, I got a bug. It was, let me think about it. Oh, it was good, actually. I'm starting, it's so funny because, I'm still sort of getting used to playing again, even though we've been doing it since what? I forget when we started. See, I can't even remember that. But
let's say June.
Yeah, so it's like, I'm gearing up for this week, and I've already forgotten what we did last week. But it was good now that I think about it.
Did the crowd sing "Happy Birthday" to Steve?
Yes, they did.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Did anyone post a video of that?
I haven't seen one. I looked for one just to see if there's one out there, but I figured they would, or you guys would. Who started it? Mark or you guys? Who started the happy birthday?
Mark did.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, he needs to post a video. Did he record it by chance?
I don't know if he did because he was up at the mic talking. I couldn't hear what he was saying though because I have my in-ear monitors in and I don't have his mic in my in-ears, so I didn't catch what he was saying to the crowd, but
well that's good. So it was a good venue.
Yeah, we played there before. A really good crowd.
Now, where are you guys playing this week?
We do well, since this is airing on Friday, we've already played.
Okay.
But Wednesday is, this is Wednesday. Thursday is Milwaukee Summerfest, and then what is it? Saturday we're doing this event center in Thurmont, Maryland.
Gotcha. Okay. So are you flying out tomorrow then? Thursday?
No, today.
Tonight? Oh, wow. Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully the weather's good for you. You said it's sunny in Nashville, right? So you're good?
Well, it's sunny on and off. There's still a lot of clouds, but better than yesterday. Yesterday was just steady rain all day.
Well, torrential downpours is what we're expecting today, and never did I think that I would hear the school systems closing down due to rain, but that's exactly what's happening here. They're shutting the schools down because
that's crazy.
Yeah. We'll talk about that a little bit more. Let me bring on our guest. We've had him on before, but my brother from another mother, Mr. Steve Conover, also known as Kaptain Keto. And so welcome back to the show, Steve.
Good to see you guys. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Sounds great. Awesome. Steve and I was talking earlier about, and Brian, you already proved our point. We'd have laughed at the fact that schools closed when it rained. It's like, that's not even a possibility back in the days we went to school.
I know. I'm assuming that there's flooding or something, or potential flooding?
Potential, yeah.
Yeah, but there's always potential. You get a flash flood warning on your phone anytime it rains. But the reality of it is, as my daughter said, because she's now got to go pick up our grandson 2 hours earlier, is like, what's the difference between now and 2 hours later? I mean, it doesn't seem like, you're not waiting for the rain to melt. You're not waiting for the roads to clear.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense. I evidently
somebody. More fear.
Hey, well, tell me what's going on in Clark County. Is Clark County closing early today too, Steve?
I've already told the principal of our schools, don't call them. Just keep them there, play with them, they'll be fine. But so far, so good. But I mean, it won't shock me. I mean, they call school here if it's below freezing because kids can't stand outside at the bus stop if it's below freezing now. And I'm thinking back to my school days. Well, I was literally a popsicle when I got to school sometimes.
Yeah, we used to have to walk in the snow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had to walk this. Go ahead, Steve. I didn't interrupt you.
Every little thing now, there's such fear, and that's what's driving all this now. There's such fear of litigation, such fear of perception of everything that I can just envision these poor superintendents of school districts huddled up in a room somewhere, chewing their fingernails off, wondering who's going to be yelling at them if they don't call school. it is what it is. It's where we are, but it's a great actually segue into talking about the gut and keto, because fear is part of the fear is part of the deal. Fear is a huge part of the reason why people who go on keto or carnivore diets seeing such initial success with gastro issues is just because of the instant reduction of inflammation in their gut. Actually allows their gut. I mean, most people don't know that your gut produces the majority of serotonin in your body. One of the happy chemicals, and actually precursors to melatonin, which is, so the two things they find out is that their IBS, lupus, and other stuff calm down when they start keto or carnivore. They're happier. They're in a better mood. They have more energy, and they can sleep better because their stomachs are actually able to make the precursors of melatonin, which without it you don't sleep. And taking exogenous melatonin doesn't do any good, because the other thing people don't know, and I didn't even know until I got into this, is that your gut is literally another brain that communicates with the master one. And that if your gut's not producing the precursor to melatonin, it tells your brain that. And you don't even do that process. So I can't tell you how many people told me that they've tried melatonin and it doesn't work, but then they start keto or carnivore, and magically, like really fast, in the first week, they try melatonin again and it knocks them out like a light. So, so that the fear subject, fear causing inflammation, and that inflammation being compounded by the fact that on a high carbohydrate, high simple sugar diet, you are feeding your gut nutrients for bad bacteria and not feeding your gut nutrients for good bacteria. And that environment allows parasites to thrive, and all these health effects come upon us that people are struggling with, and just the simple act. And so what I tell people now is, because managing macros in keto, you guys know, I know Jim doesn't do it, I don't do it, and a lot of people drop out of keto because they can't manage the macros, and it makes them frustrated, and you wind up just doing it to lose weight and not for overall health and functionality. And people drop out because of that, because it's it's like literally you're going back to school and you're failing, and it doesn't, the scale's not showing a lower number, and you just tell yourself you can't do this. So what I tell people now is just do a 30-day carnivore diet. Just do 30 days of meat and eggs, a little cheese here and there. I mean, it depends on how, most people know if they can handle dairy or not, but the safest thing to do is just to avoid it for 30 days. But to just do meat and eggs and water, black coffee, for 30 days. Well, don't weigh yourself. Don't count macros. Don't count calories. Don't do anything. And what happens every single time, is that people are feeling better. They're sleeping better. They do lose weight. And then they're able to, if they want to, merge into a keto diet where they can start doing macros and watching how much good fat intake they get, and adding some carbs back in that are healthy, which I'm a proponent of, because the next thing we're going to talk about is feeding your gut. And
hold it right there, Steve, because people, if you're watching this for the first time, you're hearing Steve explain all this stuff, and you're probably like going, what the heck is he talking about? It's like drinking from a fire hose. But but Brian turned me on to this book called I don't know if you can see it, if it's the lights.
Yeah, it's bright.
I can't get it right, but there it is.
What?
There it is.
Oh yeah, good book.
It's called Gut and Physiology. Physiology syndrome, natural treatment for almost everything that ails people. And Brian, I know you're probably further along than I am on this book, but I ordered at Brian's recommendation. And one of the things I'll say before I let Brian share what he's gained from it so far, but one of the huge ahas was the fact that it says did say some diseases, all diseases begin in the gut. And so what's even more shocking as you read and go along this is that how far behind or how little the medical profession knows about what takes place in the gut. And so if we can learn how to treat the gut or service the gut, then almost all of your diseases go away. And so it's been fascinating. I've been just highlighting. I got my highlighter here, been going through this book, and there's plenty of highlighting. So Brian, you want to share what you've gained from this book so far, and how many pages are you into it?
I'm not really that far into it. I have the Kindle version, but I think I'm going to buy the physical book because it's got so much info. It's hard to flip around on a Kindle. It's better to have the book so you can sort of mark it. But
there's all my yellow markings, as you can see. Yeah, I mean it's.
Yeah. I mean, you can like place bookmarks in there, and I've got a bunch already. But it's especially, man, there's so many good. Every chapter I get to, it's just more info, just really good info. The one I just finished the one on the immune system, which is fascinating. It's crazy because the woman that wrote this, she compares the gut to the soil, and all of the organisms that are living there that make the soil fertile, and the same thing goes on in your gut, and everything affects everything else, and when one part is out of balance, it's almost like having a species where you get rid of their natural predator, and then the species just goes, those islands where they put like snakes to get rid of the rats, but there's nothing to get rid of the snakes, and that's what happens in your gut. It just gets out of control. And just reading that thing, there's so much. It's almost overwhelming to comprehend. It's like it's like trying to comprehend the universe. Your gut is just as complex,
Well, you said that, and that's exactly what I started to see the relationship from it, what goes on inside of our gut, to just observing nature and Earth itself, and look at the soil and the earthworms and how all of those. Oh, hey, kitty. Man, she so looks like my old Tigger, exactly same colors and everything. But but it's so cool. You think about. And if I highly recommend you guys get this book, because it literally is going to be just fascinating to you, and you'll start to look at even the world differently. As you heard Brian say, the universe, you start to see how things work. Like, why can someone plant tomatoes in one half of this yard, in the other half of the yard they plant the tomatoes, they don't grow because they're depleted from all these things that the soil needs in order to facilitate the growth of the seed and give it fertile soil so it can grow and produce. Well, the same thing kind of takes place in your gut. If you let weeds grow and all that into your gut, which is what happens when we are on a constant diet of junk food, highly processed foods, we're putting all these toxicity, all this toxic chemicals in our body that destroys the good stuff. Now, go a step further than that, and this is the real reason why you want to read this book, because when you go to the doctor and they're giving you antibiotics to take, they are wreaking havoc on your digestive system, which wreaks havoc on your flora that's in your gut, which wreaks havoc on your health. It may take care of that problem, but it's going to do just what the analogy that Brian said. You may eliminate the rats, but now you're going to have snakes. There's nothing there to take care of the snakes. And now you're going to start experiencing other problems that you didn't even think of. Yeah, you got rid of the rats, but now you got a whole list of issues coming right along with it. And so I brought Steve on. I know he's got to roll out of here shortly. So Steve, I know you've been really studying this for a while. So
yeah, and that's, you know, we're on a really good analogy here, and to not, you know, force feed people from a fire hose. The regenerative farming analogy is probably the best one for people to try to sink their teeth into, because let's just say you had a garden that just, and you had a season in your garden that just couldn't grow anything. Just everything it could grow didn't taste right. It was small. It was sick. You know, it was just a bad garden. What you would do to restore that garden would be to pull up all of the weeds and all the plants that didn't grow, and regenerate the soil. So that's the very same thing that needs to happen within your body. But the first step was yanking everything out of that garden, which is why I say if people would just do 30 days of carnivore and not count calories or fat or anything, just do 30 days of carnivore, that is the same as pulling everything out of your garden. Then once that's over, you can go about regenerating that soil. And you know, that is the microbiome that's in your stomach, by number one, not feeding it toxins, not feeding it sugar, feeding it good protein, good fat, and feeding it some good fiber, because the good bacteria and good parasites, but the good bacteria, number one, have to have food, and good bacteria thrive off of good water-soluble fiber. So that would be the second step. First step is 30-day carnivore. Second step, get a good water-soluble fiber. I take one that's also got nutraceuticals in it that really boost the health of your microbiome. And if anybody wants to reach out to me, Jim will put my email in the comments here, but on anything, if you want to, just email me. I'll be glad to talk to you more about it. But just start finding things that fit your dietary needs that are going to, number one, support a keto or carnivore diet. Number two, support the growth of a healthy microbiome in your gut, regenerative farming of your gut. And then after that, the next thing that needs to happen is find some supplements, and I can help people with that want to be steered in that direction, with healing and feeding the gut lining in your gut. Because what we're actually getting down to is 95% of Americans have a leaky gut because of the bad garden we've been growing down there. And it's a one cell, this is crazy, but it's just like the blood-brain barrier in your brain. The epithelium lining of your gut is one cell thick. One
That's
cell. Great. And glyphosate, pharmaceuticals, GMOs, all these things eat holes in that one cell thin lining between your gut and the rest of your body. And when you get holes in that, and you don't have the army of healthy bacteria, toxins get through that into your bloodstream, and you have headaches, you have, fatigue, you have lupus, Crohn's, IBS, just all of the stuff goes on. So, that's what I want to leave everybody with, is just the idea that we're pulling everything out, we're regenerating the soil, and then we're continually feeding that microbiome in our gut things, where there's literally an army down there in a healthy gut that even the SARS-CoV-2 virus will get rejected out of you, instead of setting up shop in your lungs or in your organs or somewhere else. So that's really what I wanted to share with people today. And Jim just put my email in the comments if anybody wants to reach out. I also drink a coffee that supports the microbiome. You can find all kinds of things that you normally eat and drink every day to support the regenerative farming of your gut if you really want to do it.
All right, everyone. It's that time of the evening where we get a chance to tune in to Mr. Brian Shanker of the Meat Tribe YouTube channel for those meat deals of the week. So, Brian, what do you got for us this week?
I've got a lot of ribeye deals for you this week.
Now you got my attention.
Yeah, I'm excited to say. So, Carnes, Central PA. I'm not going to go into detail here. I'll do that on my own channel for the video that I'm going to do this week, but they've got 9 different meat deals right now. So check out my video on my channel for details on that. Food Lion's got some choice grade boneless ribeye steaks for $7.99 a pound.
Ooh.
And they've also got, what's that?
I said, wow.
Yes, $7.99 a pound. And they've got all their Nature's Promise meat and seafood is 25% off. And those deals run through September 7th.
What store was that? I'm sorry, Brian, what store was that?
Food Lion.
Okay.
Aldi has 73% lean ground beef on sale for $1.99 a pound. And that runs through the 7th of September as well. And then our favorite store, Harris Teeter,
Yes.
they've got 4 different ribeye deals right now running through the 7th of September. So they've got some ribeye steak value packs that are thin sliced. I'm going to skip those because I don't like my ribeyes thin. That's $8.49 a pound. They've got and that's a rancher grade. Their rancher grade is like select. They've got some rancher grade boneless ribeye steak value packs at $7.99 a pound, and rancher grade boneless ribeye steak small pack for $8.49 a pound. Now the best one, they've got some choice grade boneless ribeye steak or roast for $8.99 a pound. So that's the ones I'm going to go hit those for sure.
I'm heading that direction. I'm heading that direction now. Right after this, right after we record this, I'm there.
Awesome. I told you I've been waiting for Harris Teeter to get them back on sale again, and here we are. And then of course a couple other stores have ribeyes on sale too. Brian, for you down at Kroger, they've got some choice grade boneless ribeye steak family packs for $8.99 a pound as well, running through the 7th. And some 80% lean ground beef at Kroger for $2.49 a pound, running through the 7th of September. And then the last deal I'm going to talk about, Giant Eagle, they've got that prime grade boneless bottom round steak or roast on sale for $6.99 a pound. And that runs through September 8th.
We got some great deals out this week. So guys, go out there, hit those stores and stock up on that meat, because those are some great prices, especially as expensive as steak and meat is these days.
Absolutely. So Jim, I finally did my open box video. I'm going to post it later today, but I'll give you guys just a little tease about what the meat looked like that was inside. Hopefully
that's nice. That actually looks nice. That's very marbled.
Yep, these are the ribeyes that were in there, and I don't know if it'll still hold up so you can see how thick they are.
Nice.
So they're not too bad,
Well, we appreciate you cooking one for Brian and one for myself. So thank you very much for saving those.
And then none for me, right?
No, you get the rest of the box.
Yeah, there's some Kansas City strips in there. There's some cheddar burgers. There's all kinds of stuff. There's 18 pieces of meat in there.
So do you think was it worth the price?
I think so. I think it was only $59.99 for 18 pieces. And you saw the marbling on those ribeyes. I was pretty happy when I pulled those out.
Yeah, those are nice looking. So anyway, well, if people wanted to tune into your channel so they can catch your other specials going on for the week, what's your channel again?
It's on YouTube, it's the Meat Tribe channel. Meat Tribe is all one word. When you get over there, be sure to subscribe, like the videos, click on the bell so you're notified anytime I upload a new video. And if you come across any deals, put them in the comments section. And in the link, in the description of all my videos is a link to the Meat Tribe apparel store. And there's a 10% sale going on from September 2nd through the 7th. Use the code SUNSET, all one word, and you'll get 10% off.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for giving those deals of the week, and we'll look forward to seeing you next Friday, Brian.
Sounds good, guys. See you next
Have a great week. You too.
Yeah.
And stay keto or carnivore.
Well, thanks for coming on and sharing your expertise in this area. And we will look forward to seeing you back on the show at a future date, hopefully.
Awesome. Look forward to hearing from everybody.
All right. Take care, Steve.
He did.
sorry, I didn't record. There we go.
That's all right.
Yeah, no. And, one of the things at the beginning of that chapter, like, and I just want to share this with everybody, like modern medicine has divided the human body into different systems and compartments. And she does a great job of saying, we have cardiovascular system, we have a nervous system, a digestive system, a respiratory system, a muscular skeletal system, and many more. And to treat problems, you go to a specific cardiologist, a neurologist, a psychiatrist, a gastroenterologist, all kinds of different specialists, depending on what their specialty is. But the problem is the human body is one entity, and whether or not you know it or not, your body is communicating with all those different, they're all communicating, whether you hear it or not, your body's communicating with itself. No different than the trees with the root system, and they're communicating with nature as well, giving off a signal. And you ever wonder why trees turn certain ways, or why they thin out, or some grow taller and some bend to the left? It's because they're all communicating with one another, and they're trying to get along. And what she says, unfortunately, specialists in different disciplines often do not communicate with each other and avoid affecting each other and do not work together. So if a cardiologist is focusing on the heart without considering what's going on with the rest of the body, I'm going to go back to that analogy over and over again that Brian gave. If they're just looking at getting rid of the rat population, but not thinking of the long-term consequences of what happens when we rid the island of rats and we just got an island full of snakes, and there's nothing to keep the snakes in control, then you've created a problem.
Yeah.
And it's just like in real life. I mean, you wonder why, some things have to die in order for some things to survive. But the reality of it is, it's really keeping that balance. So you can look at it as it's barbaric, or you can look at it as, balance and beauty, and how the universe was created to sustain itself and to maintain itself. And the one thing this book has shown me is just how powerful your body is created to protect you from the stuff that we are now digesting on a regular basis, especially the highly processed food. The highly processed food and medicines, the statins that they're feeding you, are two things that are destroying you. They're destroying your rat population in your gut, causing the snakes, which you don't want an intestine full of snakes. You want a balanced system. But anyway, I'll let you share more for your thoughts on it, Brian, but I'm truly blown away by this book.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much in there. It's almost like it's hard to figure out where to start. And I'm only partway through, but it's like I can't put it down once I start reading it. Yeah, and the way she talks about, there's so many different things in your gut that they work together. Like things that people think are bad are actually there for everything's there for a reason, and and they're all working. Like you said, some things have to die for the others to live, but they're all in there together for that purpose. Because for this thing to work, it's got to have this other thing to go with it, and and the way that the medical community divides everything into compartments, and basically treat the symptom of whatever's going wrong. When if you're having heart problems, it's most likely started in the gut, and that's where the treatment should be, but. And it not just treating the symptom, it should be treating the cause.
There you go, treating the cause.
Yeah.
And so, I say this all the time. I've said this if you met me on the street, this is what I tell you. You have the power. You have the power. And so the reality of it is, you need to look within and make sure you're feeding that superpower that you have, which is to sustain life. And as Brian just got through saying, you're made to believe that worms, if someone says I got worms, or your dog's got worms, you're made out to believe that that's a negative thing. Well, in reality, you need those worms, especially in the floor. Like, for example, she talks about a healthy gut floor has flukes, worms, and all sorts of other creatures living together in harmony in their own soil, which they create for themselves. And this is a life lesson for just humans in general. The bigger the diversity of different life forms in your gut flora, the healthier you are. So the more you're open to learning and hearing about somebody else's culture or their race, the healthier you are as well.
Right.
When you want to start to raise yourself above someone else's skin color or what their belief systems are, then it's an unhealthy environment you're creating. But if you can learn to be open to accept all, then what happens is you've created a very healthy environment for you. And the same thing goes for our gut. In fact, she said recent research into human gut flora has discovered some 60 to 70 species of different fungi living in the gut of healthy people. Now, you say that to somebody, and somebody goes, "Oh, I got to get rid of that." No,
Right.
you want to foster that growth. You want to help that to remain healthy. And one of the things that I do for other reasons, but in reading this book, I understand why I have a desire to do that, is just, it's called grounding, but I love walking outside no matter what time of year, whether it's snow, and just planting my feet on the ground, on the earth, and doing meditation. And here she's sitting there talking about how those microbes, those worms and stuff that you can't even really, they enter your feet and go into your body to help grow and sustain your system. And so, you start to put, I know when I was a kid, I don't know, Brian, how you grew up, but, we used to go barefoot as a kid.
Oh yeah.
But you think about it, you rarely see kids running around barefooted anymore. They got to have socks on. They got to have their rubber sole sneakers on. And so they don't get the benefits of actually walking around in a park or on the ground or on earth. And there's benefits from that. You ever wonder why you feel great when you go to the beach and you got your feet in that sand and that soil and the salt, in the water? Because you're literally taking in stuff that your body's been craving for. You get the vitamin D from the sunshine, but there's just so much stuff that you're getting, that your body's taking in from the soles of your feet, and you don't even realize it.
Right. And the same goes, well, just even like dirt in general is, people are so worried about dirt, having to be clean but dirt is good for you.
Yeah. We were onto something back when you used to make mud pies as a kid and you used to, dare each other to eat them. Actually, turns out that was probably a really good thing to do.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just, but most people, you're right. Everybody wants to create a sterile environment, and sterile environment has its place. Don't get me wrong, but everything's meant to bring us health. And your body's meant to work in unison with your surroundings. And when we interject, statin drugs or highly processed food, it doesn't come in the natural, then we're actually creating problems for ourselves. And so that's what really happens. When you take antibiotics, you are killing some part of the balanced microbial community in your gut flora, and it becomes unbalanced. And when it becomes unbalanced, guess what? Disease follows. And it's, you wonder why we are constantly talking about that you have the power to put in your mouth what you want to put in your mouth to eat, but you got to eat for health, just not for weight loss. You're eating for health. You're eating to strengthen your immune system, which all starts in the gut. And when you read this book, you're going to start to see things differently. At least it's even causing me to look at things differently and really how they relate to one another and how we relate to nature as well.
Right. Yeah. Well, the other thing too, I mean, I don't know the technical terms, but she was talking about a certain kind of, when you were talking about antibiotics, not only does it kill off stuff in your gut, it affects like these certain cells. I can't remember if it was bacteria or I forget which cells she was talking about, but where it it eliminates the cell wall, but those cells have learned to live without the cell wall, and then they can mimic other things.
Yes.
Read that part?
Yes.
That was crazy. It's almost like science fiction movie or something where they can morph into whatever they want, and that's why certain antibiotics don't work after a while, because these cells learn to change their shape and avoid the antibiotic, and they can go on and do other things, and it's like, it's crazy. And then when the doctor is trying to diagnose it, they think it's one thing when it's actually the other thing that's changed its shape.
No, it's really good. I mean, what Brian is saying is, like, and this is something that people need to realize, like cancer, I mean, everybody can't stand the word cancer. They hate cancer. But the reality is you have cancer cells in your body, and they'll just lie there dormant. So if there's nothing for them to feed on, AKA sugar, there's
Right.
nothing for them to feed on, they're not a problem. They're there. They get along with everybody else. They're not a problem. But if you start to feed yourself sugar and you start to have something, let's just say, you take some statin drugs, you start taking that lining out, and you start to eat sugar, then the cancer goes, ooh, that's what I love. And it just grabs that sugar and it starts to grow. And so it's no different than if a friend of yours was addicted to donuts, and they're fine. I mean, they're fine as long as they're not by donuts, but they go by a Krispy Kreme donut shop that says the hot signs on, says we got hot donuts. They can't stop eating them. And guess what? They get bigger. Same thing with cancer does. Cancer says, when they see the sign that says sugar, they're like, I'm there. They don't see the sign. They'll just lay there and be nice the whole time. And there's a lot of stuff. She goes on to say that why most cases of fungal overgrowth in humans happen after courses of antibiotics is when you kill some part of the balanced microbial community in the gut flora, it becomes unbalanced and disease always follows. Did you know that approximately 3/4 of all antibiotics produced in the Western world are fed to poultry, cows, and pigs in our industrial? And so when you're buying meat, pork, and chicken, poultry at the grocery store, and doesn't have the organic non-GMO labels on it, you are digesting those antibiotics. It's going into you. But here's the good thing. As you heard Steve talk about earlier, if you just went carnivore for 30 days, you're saying, well, how's that good for you? Well, because the good's going to outweigh the bad. And the reality of it is your body's meant to handle those toxins that come into it, as long as you're not overloading it. And it's made, your body is designed to deal with those issues, and it will deal with it. So you don't have to do anything, but you do have to give your soil the right nutrients in order to be a fertile plot of ground for you to grow from. So you will grow in health depending on how your fertile soil that's inside you is doing.
Yeah.
And so truly, it's just, I'm trying to go through here and see what else. Every time you eat bread, vegetables, fruit, or any other commercially produced plants, we consume antibiotics. So let's think about that. So she says it may turn out that fungi are some of the most important inhabitants of a healthy human gut. They provide the very basis and structure for our gut flora. We need to cultivate them and take care of them. Cultivate them is what I was looking for earlier. So if you can start to realize the food that you place in your bodies, or your body, not bodies, your body, and be careful on what you are ingesting as far as antibiotics. And I'm not saying just don't do them, because once in a while it's to the point where you're going to have to kill the rats in order to be able to save the island. But what I'm telling you, if you will take the little steps to cultivate a healthy environment on your island and have the right fertile soil, then everything will be in balance. Everything will get along with one another, and you will find yourself probably feeling the best you've ever felt in your life, because your body, which is designed to do this, is on autopilot. It's taking care of itself.
Yeah.
What's meant to grow will grow, and what's meant to sit there and just observe we'll just observe. And as long as you don't give something to wake it up, then you're going to be good. But what I realized this, I've told this story many times, and Peggy's actually been on here and shared her story. But my wife's had plenty of gut issues, and the reality of it is it came from what's been prescribed to her from medical professionals, highly processed food. We did always live a keto carnivore lifestyle, and so when you're eating that processed food, and that's why you hear Brian and I talk about, you got to be careful with all this marketing for keto to get you to buy this keto crap, because that crap is crap. And while it may be keto by their definition, it's not helping you with it's not helping you produce fertile soil.
Right. Yeah. It's maddening when people post that stuff on those keto carnivore pages on
forums. Yep.
The groups on Facebook, and they'll discover some bread that it's keto, I can eat this, and they're only looking at the nutrient thing that shows you the carbs, and it's like that's not like, you can't just go by that. And then I'll further investigate and look at Google the ingredients, and it's just bread. It's just regular. You might as well just buy a loaf of whatever Wonder Bread. It's got all that in there. They've just figured out how to make it look like it's, they've reduced the carbs, which that's not the entire
problem.
Yeah, and it's not the entire goal. It's the other poison that's in that they make the product with.
Yeah, if you're not, the best diet you can be on is probably just going straight carnivore. Deviating like Brian. Brian pretty much lives a pretty strict carnivore lifestyle. Once in a while, he'll throw in some stuff, but that's okay. Now I know, Brian, in your, the reason why you started down the keto carnivore journey was because you were starting to have issues that most people would just say, oh, that's just part of getting old. That's what I've heard in my life. It's part of getting old. You aren't willing to accept that sentence.
Right.
And so you started going out on your own, and your journey has led you to this spot right here. And so in reading this book and going back when you first started, are you relating to what this book is sharing with you? Like what could have caused some of your problems, like your headaches, your stomach issues, or are you able to go, wow, that made sense. That's probably what I was dealing with back then.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. I kind of already knew that, but now I can see the process, because each time I went to keto and it got a little better, then I went to carnivore and I got a little better past that. But there's still always something that I'm trying to figure out, and the more I look into it, especially the gut part of it, I can see where there's still some adjustments that can be made, and that's why I've sort of been experimenting. I've been doing carnivore now since pretty much full on since early 2019 when I moved here to Nashville, and so now I'm every once in a while I'll throw in some asparagus just to see, and there are things now that I can handle that I couldn't before, and I think it's because my guts have sort of healed slightly. There's still some healing to do. That I'm not done, but it all makes sense when I look back on it, and I can see, my first initial, starting on this journey, I started with the fitness part of it, but because my diet wasn't right, the fitness, it was good, but it was like, it's trying to do one thing without correcting the other. I wasn't getting the full effect of it, and like you were saying, I was, I'm getting older, and doing the physical fitness part of it, it was rough when I wasn't eating right, and the aches and the pains and the joint problems and all that stuff. That stuff has subsided tremendously since I've gotten on this the nutrition path.
So if you're watching this and you've experienced, or you know someone in your family who's experienced, you know, any gut related issues, then by all means, you know, especially irritable bowel syndrome is what they don't know what it is. That's what they call it, IBS. They'll designate it IBS for you. But if you got any IBS symptoms, and that's the other thing that you probably, that she does a really good job explaining, you know, typically, and this is going to be, I just give you a warning, if you're eating, you want to put your food down here for a second, because I'm going to talk about vomiting and diarrhea. But both of those are cleansing functions of your body, and they're not pleasant, but that's your body protecting yourself. It's like, you know, throwing the breaker switch so you don't burn the house down. It's saying, look, we can't handle this. This is not good for us. So it flips the switch. Now you're going to go reset the breaker. But once you cleanse that stuff out of your system, your body's going to be functioning again. So it's just flushing those toxins and the parasites and other disease causing bacteria out of your body, and leaving it cleaner. And really, it's just resetting the soil.
Well, and also, you know, most people's first reaction is to stop it and take something that's going to fix it. But, you know, really, your body's not stupid, you know, and it's it's fixing a problem. And when you stop, like anytime, like you stop some kind of bodily function that you think, like a cold or any of that, when you're taking cold medicine, and you're just getting in the way of your body doing what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, because so many people, and I hear, there's probably not a week goes by that I don't run into somebody who's taking a Rolaids or a Tums because they talk about they got, you know, acid reflux. They're, and so the reality of it is, you need to realize that your body's already handling that. And when you take a Tums or a Rolaids and you're trying to help your body, you're really not helping it. You're really causing the
You're
body.
hampering it.
Hampering, yeah. Thank you. You're hampering it. You're delaying the goal of the body. The body knows what to do, whether it's a fever, diarrhea, vomiting, whatever, or mucus or whatever. The body's getting rid of whatever's causing you the issue, and it's cleansing itself.
Well, you're talking about taking Rolaids and stuff. The funny part of that is, well, I don't know if it's funny, but most of the time when you're experiencing like the heartburn or the acid reflux or any of that stuff, it's not because you have too much stomach acid. It's because it's low. And when you take those antacids, that lowers it even further and causes more problems. And she talks about that too, where
yeah, you're diluting it.
And then these other things that your stomach keeps in check because of the high acid content. When the acid gets the strength lowers, then these other things can grow there where they're not supposed to grow. So, you know, it's just the same analogy. It affects every part of your body. You know, the rats and the snakes thing.
No, it's great. You know, and I'm reading this part. I got this part of the book open up too, where she says, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correct or not, but, and you can correct me if you know how to pronounce it, Brian. But protozoa are the one cell organisms you were talking about with animal-like behavior, and in the soil, protozoa eat bacteria and fungi, releasing their nutrients to feed the roots of the plants. They're important members of the microbial community. So they literally create the soil around themselves so they can grow and do what they're meant to do. And yet, you know, she goes on to talk about there's been a number of clinical trials that have shown that deliberate introduction of worms into the digestive system can alleviate system. Oops. Sorry about that. My phone rang and interfered on my screen, so let me start that over. So she talks about a number of published clinical trials have shown that deliberate introduction of worms into the digestive system can alleviate symptoms of Crohn's disease. And so, in colitis and hay fever and multiple sclerosis, type 1 diabetes, and other chronic diseases. So she says, do these worms play the same role for us as earthworms for the planet? Do they aerate and enrich the soil inside our digestive system? I have no doubt that they do all that and more. Mm-hmm. And so you know, if you'll just let your body, you know, we're not walking on this planet because our body doesn't know how to sustain itself. Our body knows how to sustain itself. What man does in the modern era that we're in is constantly poison it with stuff that we believe is called food, or we're helping the body with what we call medicine, modern medicine. And
Yeah.
probably in the majority of the cases, we are just hampering the positive effects that our body wants to give us and protect us from. And so we're literally putting the exact poison in our body that our body is trying to get rid of. And so I know for a lot of people who are dealing with like Crohn's disease and all this, you're going to want to get this book. You're going to want to study it. And my guess is you're going to really be fascinated with applying what you're going to learn from this book into your life, and understand just how important a keto carnivore lifestyle is for your gut, helping you prepare good soil. And I haven't got to a point where she hasn't talked about this yet. I'm not sure if she even does, but I really believe that intermittent fasting is a key component of letting your organs rest, so they're not having to work 24/7. So when you do give them the good stuff to feed them, that they're ready to go. And it's just you're just fostering a healthy lifestyle, and you're fostering good soil constantly on a daily basis. It's like a farmer who skips, sometime a farmer will plant tomatoes, then he gives a year, he puts corn. There's different ways to keep the soil feeding off one another and not depleting all of the nutrients that specific crop needs. And I think that's pretty much what happens with intermittent fasting. You're able to allow the soil to recoup and regenerate when you're not just constantly depleting from it or adding toxins to it 24/7.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And for me, my own experience, once I started down this path, there's a lot of stuff I didn't even realize was wrong. I thought that's just the way I felt all the time. I didn't know that I could feel better. I just thought that's the way it is, with all these gut problems and issues.
Yeah. I remember as a kid, for whatever reason, I had a lot of gut issues as a kid. And I remember, I'm probably talking 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. I went through upper GI, lower GI. I remember them putting the milkshake, the caulk stuff, and looking at my intestines and all this. And, back then, we're talking 45 years, 50 years ago. They did not have the research that they have now. But the reality of it is, the stuff they gave me back then, I now know why. I think I've talked about this on the show, or at least off the show with Brian, that, as a young kid, I was given aspirin as a very young age. I remember it ate the lining of my stomach, and then I couldn't keep anything down. Well, that's just a little microcosm look into what it's doing to the rest of my body as well. It does the same thing to your intestinal tract. And that what Brian was talking about before, early on, about being able to morph into different shapes, and it's the pleomorphism. The pleo or pleomorphism is the amazing ability of microbes to change shape and form to the point of looking and behaving like something completely different. So they're able to exchange their genetics between one another and other microbes, and even our human cells. So depending on the environment and the food supply and the stage in their life cycle, microbes can become unrecognizable.
Yes, like that movie, The Thing. Remember that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what's taking place in your inside of you. Now, here's the thing I want everybody to realize. If you just you're not thinking about what all these processes that are taking place on a second by second. Every time you take a breath in, you're bringing oxygen in, you're feeding all of that stuff. And then also in regards to what you're placing in your mouth to literally go to your stomach and your gut. And, in reading this, I know a lot of friends of mine who've had the stomach stapling surgery. And it really, now I look at that and I go, man, I think that really messes with the whole process of your body. Because I know most people have a lot of issues after they've had the stomach stapling surgery. And
there again, that's just treating a symptom, not the cause,
Well, I think also you're eliminating your ability to keep the snakes in check. So when you're eliminating the rats, now you've created a much bigger problem, and your stomach, which is a gateway to your digestive system. I think you're compromising that whole system how it was intended.
Yeah.
And I haven't looked in more into that. I don't know if she goes into that in this book, but I just know that's where my mind went, and thinking of all the issues. I know people have had that surgery performed, and what happens to them afterward. They seem to start having problems with other areas of their life. And I think it probably is related to they're eliminating that natural process of the gut and their digestive system.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Well, we will we'll wrap this up, because we're not going to keep you here all night long talking about the diarrhea and vomiting and the gut issues. But we thank you for hanging in there for those who have. And Brian, you're taking off and flying tonight. You're flying this afternoon.
Yeah, this evening.
Well, have a great flight, and then you guys are in Maryland on Saturday, you said?
Yeah, in Thurmont, Maryland.
Okay, awesome. Was that sold out by chance?
I don't know. That's a good question. It's been postponed a few times, more than a couple. So, yeah, I'm sure people are. I'm sure it's going to do well, whatever happens. But people are, they bought tickets the first time, and then I'm assuming they still have their tickets. I don't know how that works, but
now, is that an outside event?
No, it's indoor.
Okay, and the one in Milwaukee's indoor as well?
No, that's an outdoor festival.
Okay. Well,
I don't know if you've ever heard of Summerfest, but it goes on like all summer. It's like weeks long, and it's just multiple, just configurations of bands, and so many bands play that.
Well, I'm sure you guys will have a good show, and your fans will be eager to see you guys, and be happy to be able to catch you guys live out there in Milwaukee and in Thurmont, Maryland. And in the meantime, if someone has made it through this show, what bit of advice would you give them to help them, Brian?
I would say start with eat your meat.
There you go. We'll see you guys next Friday. Stay safe, stay well, and stay out of that hospital.